How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. A relatively slow NBA free agency, less noise than previous years. Of course, a lot to unfold, perhaps dragging into training camp. The Kevin Durant trade rumors continues. The non-stop drama of Kyrie Irving shouldn't surprise anybody at this point. Aside from the biggest stars, a bunch of all-star NBA players on their very last legs looking to remain in the league before it's too late. So with that said, let's take a look at 8 former All-Stars whose career might be over for good before the year 2023. Starting with former Slam Dunk champion, aka Lob City, former Brooklyn Net, Blake Griffin, who's still on the market after a memorable postseason hustle display. The 33-year-old, one of the only Nets who played his heart out, unlike teammate Ben Simmons. Griffin was actually a DMP for 9 of his last 10 games before Steve Nash inserted him for Game 3 out of desperation. Went out there and provided some spark on the dysfunctional team. Nash just didn't want to play him down the stretch. Being too old, Griffin, despite losing 90% of his athleticism, just an average spot-up shooter, not good on defense given his age. 2019 was really the last of vintage prime Blake Griffin with the Pistons, a borderline all-star, forever will be known for the Lob City days. And his after signing that huge contract with the Clippers back in 2017 clearly didn't work out. Brought out by the Pistons, who's rebuilding the right direction. Joining Brooklyn was a very bad direction. If this is indeed the end of Blake Griffin's NBA career, he would have been remembered going all out, hustling on the floor, the 6-time All-Star, Hall of Famer, borderline, in my opinion. Next, let's go to a smaller player, a diminishing point guard in Kemba Walker. After dealing with knee issues from being signed by the Celtics, Walker has clearly lost a step, relied heavily on his quickness, very undersized at just 6 foot, 180 pounds, was never a good defender, a brutal combination, the opposite of longevity. The 32-year-old's best days are sadly way behind him. Sad to say that his career is trending similar to Isaiah Thomas's direction, from being an all-star starter from the Eastern Conference to averaging over 19 points a game the following year and continue having knee problems. Often the mismatch opposing teams haunted him. He got destroyed on defense plenty of times, but Walker, when he tasted postseason success and finally advanced in the first round in the bubble, he had a heavy sharp decline, forced Boston to trade him. They had no other choice to OKC in the Al Horford package. While Horford helped his former team reach the finals and became better without Kemba Walker, Boston didn't even need to replace Kemba with any point guard, while his hometown Knicks picked him up from waivers after a bounce-back year on a team that needed more scores. Walker just lasted 37 games, an uneventful 11.6-point average, career lows across 5 major statistical categories. Thibodeau just benched him. Walker continuously knee problems. The team made no improvement. Him and the franchise agreed to just sit him out the remainder of the season back in February. And when Walker was traded to the Pistons, a rebuilding franchise, they agreed to buy him out. Now he's an unrestricted free agent. A nightmare ending this would be if Kemba's not given another chance. What a tragic downfall if that's the case. A smaller player than Kemba Walker, who I should say 5'9" Isaiah Thomas, who never became the same after that hip injury, never received his big payday, but overachieved looking back at his journey from being the very last pick of the 2011 draft to a top 5 MVP candidate. You have to give kudos to IT for playing his heart out. Although he was blindsided by the trade, many were angry about the lack of loyalty from the Celtics. But looking back at the decision, the franchise made an absolutely smart basketball decision. Despite all his achievements, Thomas passed on from team to team, never even became close to playing a full season, playing for 7 different teams after leaving the Celtics. As you see his numbers here, under 12 points a game on 39% shooting since after that 2017 MVP caliber season. Only signed briefly by the Lakers and Mavs this past year due to many players having COVID. The Hornets gave him a chance only to look pedestrian. Now age 33, time is certainly not on his side, especially being undersized. For a player who is very not undersized, a very good big man in his prime, as well as the best players in the early 2010s decade, Dwight Howard, a journeyman after his last All-Star appearance with Houston. Howard has somewhat rejuvenated his career from being on a good behavioral term with the 2020 Lakers. After that, the debacle with the Wizards in 2019. God knows what he was doing. No longer a laughingstock. Accepted his role off the bench. No complaints. Doesn't care if he doesn't check into the game at this point. Last season, a 6-6 guy, Vogel barely played him. Dwight got a lot of crap from the angry younger Dwight Anthony Davis. The altercations that led to the Lakers' downfall. The former 8-time All-Star has become insanely disrespected, playing for 7 different teams the last 6 seasons. Howard can't stay on one team for longer than 1 year, it seems like. A 1-year rental at this point, only in the game to catch alley-oops, grab rebounds, commit fouls, and try to get under his opponent's skin. But getting too physical on purpose can be very distracting and annoying sometimes for Dwight. The 36-year-old, no doubt a future Hall of Famer, a pretty long career no matter how you look at it. How about Dwight Howard's former teammate, former All-Star with the Boston Celtics in his prime, Rajon Rondo, who tried to sign back with the Lakers in 2022, but at that point was just way too old. His playoff magic appears to be shutting the door, a shell of himself pretty much the last 4 regular seasons. Came off the bench this past year for the Cavs, never developed a consistent jumper, averaging under 5 and 5, looked like his former All-Star self at times in the bubble, but that was like 2 years ago. And since then, Rondo wasn't productive with the Clippers last season, wasn't that impactful, didn't even play the final 3 playoff games versus the Suns when he was with LAC. At this point of his career, Rondo almost entering Udonis Haslem territory as player coach. Rondo more like a third-string point guard nowadays if he does get signed anywhere. Former great power forward from the Portland Trailblazers, the team he was drafted by, actually the Chicago Bulls. That was my mistake. Played the majority of his career with Portland, but formerly with the Nets, LaMarcus Aldridge, after a health scare which forced him to retire before the end of the 2021 season. Absolutely bad timing. Being only a few points short of 20,000 points, could have been an extra guy on the Brooklyn Nets injury team against the Bucks, who were centimeters away from advancing if it wasn't for KD's big feet. Elected to give it one more shot with Brooklyn, thinking he was going to truly contend, only for Aldridge to left feeling frustrated about the Kyrie Irving distractions, who ruined the team. At 36 years old right now, LA is only valuable as pretty much a pick and pop guy, a mid-range god, but everything else he's very awful at this point. Terrible on defense, can't move his feet, super old legs. The younger athletic Nick Claxton was more valuable. Aldridge also found himself in a lot of isolation situations with smaller guards and often got cooked pretty much every time. Unplayable at stretches, 0 playing time in the Boston sweep. Despite a 13-point regular season average, Aldridge's decline super obvious. Now his negative outweighs all the positives at this stage of his career. Aldridge's former teammate, another all-star power forward. How about Paul Millsap? After a disastrous experiment with the Nets, including in the Harden trade package, the 37-year-old unplayable. Last good season he had was 2021 against the Nuggets. He played 33 games last season and 11 minutes, averaging under 4 and 4. Couldn't play much for Philly. Way slower now. Would be shocking if another team signs him at this point. And how about finally an old NBA player, former All-Star, who could retire a champion if he retires today, Andre Iguodala, the 4-time champ, the good luck charm for Golden State, keeps winning with the Warriors. Not only would Iggy make the Hall of Fame, but will likely get his jersey number retired by the franchise. Made the best decision of his career signing with Golden State back in 2013. Even though he was past his prime at that point, fit in perfectly with Steph and Clay. Excellent defender, good instincts, who doesn't need to score to be effective. If it wasn't for signing with the Dubs, Iguodala would nowhere be close to Hall of Fame status. Although last 3 seasons, he pretty much played 20 minutes a game, only played a little bit in the 2022 finals, and his performances also right now shows Father Time is absolutely here for him. The 38-year-old, although one of the most successful careers as a one-time former All-Star. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. How many of these former All-Stars that might be out the league before the end of this season do you think will make the Hall of Fame? I have a feeling pretty much all of them besides Millsap, in my opinion, but let me know your opinions below. Once again, thank you so much for watching. If you're new to my channel, subscribe for more content, more good stuff coming soon. I love all of you. See you next time.